Hall. My name is Cole Jones, and I specialize in helping businesses get their crap together. Uh, Today, I'm answering a question that I got from one of my clients, and it sparked so much conversation that made me want to have this conversation with you all. But the question is, how do I make my employees more productive? And I think that is a very loaded question. It's a question that has a lot of answers, and it is not a one size fits all. But I think one of the first questions you have to ask, and while it is not what I'm going to spend the bulk of this video talking about, I think we have to ask the question: is how are you paying your people? How are you paying your people? Are you below market? Because there are certain things that you could ask people to do, and if they feel unappreciated, and a lot of times people feel appreciated by the amount of money that they make, when they feel unappreciated, they will not. They just will not be productive for you because it's not at their pay grade. I think there's another side to that, and I really do want to spend a good amount of time on it, and it is this: there comes a point at which money just doesn't matter anymore. When people start making above what middle class is, and and they're making double and triple what their mortgage is, and they're comfortable, there really does become a point where the priority here is not money. The priority then becomes, it's literally Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Where it transcends money, it transcends those basic needs, and now it is, how is my well-being, how is my mental health, am I emotionally stressed here, does this place make me have a stomach ache when I come here? Do I feel like I am not seen, heard, appreciated? Do I feel like this is not aligning with my goals? This does not feel like I'm doing everything that I can be. And so when people feel that way, they begin to quiet quit, which is probably why you're experiencing a problem with productivity, because the people are doing the very minimum they need to do so that they can't get fired. But they're definitely not maximizing their potential, and they definitely are not minded toward your business, and they're not trying to push the vision because they can't see themselves within the vision. And I think that is a very important thing, is that people need to be able to see themselves within the vision. If people can't see their vision for their lives, their families, their futures, and it does not fit within the overall vision of your business, and not just the vision, but the way that things are moving in your business, people are not going to buy in and give you their best. They're not going to give you everything that they have when they don't even feel like they're going to be here in 2 or 3 years, because it just doesn't align with where they want their life to go. And so you've got to first ask your question: is the vision of my business, do the people who work here, do they feel like their vision fits within my vision? Because if their vision doesn't feel like it fits in my vision, forget productivity. You're about to lose your employees. They're about to be quitting. And so you've got to first ask that question. And I want to remind you that when you have a productivity problem at large within your organization, or you have a quitting problem at large in your organization, that is a reflection of you. Because why? You, the leader, direct the course of culture. And culture is literally what you celebrate, what you allow, and what you tolerate. If you celebrate something that is negative, that's going to be amplified within your organization. If you refuse to tolerate that negative thing, it's not going to become a thing in your organization. If you celebrate people who celebrate people, celebration is going to become a part of your organization. The very culture and fabric of one of the businesses, my favorite business that I run, is fun. It is within the very fabric of what we do. Everything that we do has to be fun, because we're a retreat company. The goal here is, hey, yeah, we're going to help your business, we're going to help your friend group, we'll help your family group, but the goal here is we're going to have a good time. And so it is what we celebrate. We don't tolerate bad attitudes. We don't tolerate negativity. We don't tolerate that. And so it is not within the culture of that business. On the other hand, there are other organizations that I have leadership roles with, and that's not the culture. That's not what's celebrated, tolerated, or it's not within the culture of what we do. And so I want to remind you that as a business owner, business leader, or a manager, your job, you're responsible more for any than anything else for the culture and the productivity and the retention of your employees. Why? Because they carry your vision. And if the people carrying the vision drop the vision because they don't want to be here anymore, the vision will not go anywhere. And so your job, above everything else, you could be worried about ROI, you can be worried about your margins and everything else. But if you can't manage people and keep the people happy and keep the people bought into the vision, it doesn't matter how good you are at any of the rest of the stuff, because the vision didn't go anywhere. So like I said, you got to analyze the pay. You've got to ask the question. Are my people, does their vision fit in my vision? But the other things you got to ask the question is, have I appropriately trained people? Like, I can't hold people accountable for the culture that I'm trying to promote and say that we don't tolerate that here if I never appropriately taught them or told them what our culture is. If I never told them what's going to be celebrated, what's going to be not going to be tolerated, if I don't haven't taught them and I haven't shown them. And so from off rip, when you first hire somebody, you've got to train them and give them appropriate training, not just on the role. And you should thoroughly train people on the role. Like that's often the thing that makes people burn out because they don't even know what they're doing. You should train people on the role, but you got to train people on the business. Like if you don't train people on the business, on the organization, whether you are a country club, a church, just a regular mom and pop shop, if you don't train people on the culture and the expectations, people will bring whatever they want into it, and if you allow it, that will become your culture. And so like if you own a country club and you're not just your employees but you're bringing in new members, you've got to have a class. You can't just have a handbook, because if you want the culture to continue to be the culture, you've got to show them, tell them, and make sure they understand this is the culture of our club. This is what we allow, this is what we don't allow, this is what we stand for, this is what we don't stand for. This is we're going to stand up on these issues, we're going to sit down on those issues. This is who we are. Same goes for a church. You got a church and you're trying to grow your church and you're trying to figure out why the back door is open and why people are leaving your church. First, when you get new members and you got old members, you got to say, hey, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is not what we stand for. And the same thing works in your business. If your employees do not have a clue what we stand for, why we're even in existence, why we were founded, what we do, why we do it, why we have the standards we have, you're going to end up with a McDonald's. And I think it's wild. McDonald's is sold with billions or trillions of hamburgers, but everybody notoriously knows that they have the worst service. As a matter of fact, I've avoided McDonald's for the last 12 years because their service is bad and the quality of food is awful. It doesn't change the fact that they're making money, but they're not they're not Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday and they're still more profitable. They have their culture dialed in. This is what we stand for. This is what we don't stand for. And so if you want your people to be productive, they have to have a deeper understanding of who we are, why we do what we do, and this is why we exist, and this is what separates us from this business, and this is why we use this process, and this is why we say it this way, and this is why we use email and not memos. This is why we do all of these things. When your people are properly trained, they can then buy into something because they have an understanding of what they're buying into. Okay. Not only do you have to do that, then you have to ask the question, do my people feel appreciated? Like if I'm paying well and I've properly trained my people and they feel like they fit into the vision, ask the question, do my people feel appreciated? Am I taking credit for all of their hard work? If every time something happens, I always step up and make sure that everybody knows I'm the boss. If you got to know that I'm in charge, and nobody ever sees the opportunity to be acknowledged for their hard work, the fact that they've been working late every night and nobody said anything, the fact that they've been churning out great numbers and nobody said anything, people are not going to give you your best where they don't feel appreciated. But when people feel understood, when they feel appreciated, when they feel like they are contributing in a big and positive way, people will give you more. They feel compelled to. They feel like they have some ownership stake. And even though they may not have equity, they may not have a dollar or a share of your business, but they will have sweat equity, and there will be a sense of pride that's tied to the way that they approach the way that you run to your business. What you're asking me, how do I make my people more productive? You need to ask the question, how do I make my people buy in? And people don't buy into leaders who don't buy into them. It's simple. People will not buy into leaders who don't buy into them. People buy into leaders that they feel like add value to their lives and care about their well-being. You can have a terrible CEO, but he'd be a great manager of people and have an excellent business. But the inverse is you can have somebody who's great at numbers, but they don't care anything about the people. You'll have a mediocre business or even a failing business. People care about leaders that care about them. And if you think that you can just pull down the hammer and whip people into submission, I guarantee you they're going to be looking for another job tomorrow, because there's no level of subjection that in the 21st century that people are willing to subject themselves to. There are too many options. People can go drive Uber. They can go start their own business. They can do YouTube. they can do so many other things to make money that they don't have to work for you. This is not the days of Ford, where people didn't have an option. It was either I'm going to work in the fields or I'm going to work with the line. People have options. And because people have options, if you want people to buy into your vision, you got to buy into them and their well-being and their future. And if you can't do that, productivity is not going to increase. It's not going to improve. The purpose here, the thing that you need to do is you need to shape the culture of your business. And the way that you shape the culture of your business is you have to be explicit on what we celebrate, what we will not tolerate, and what we're not going to allow. What we will allow too. Get explicit about that. And you're going to have to lead by example. You're going to have to love on these people. You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to be present. And that doesn't mean that you start using terms like we're a family, because that's kind of weird at work. But you do have to care. Like, there is a certain level of care. You do need to have opportunities for community building. And for some organizations, that's going to look like you going out for drinks after work. For some organizations, that's going to look like you having a bowling league. And at some places, it's going to just look like you bringing donuts. Bring donuts in the morning and let's all get around and talk about donuts. Let's create a culture where we all get around the coffee pot and we have a conversation. Create a culture where we can all stop by the break room, and the break room is nice and it's stocked full of stuff. And there's a watering well and hole that makes people feel like they belong to something and they're a part of something. I want you to think about this. I'm from the great state of Alabama. I've lived in Alabama my entire life. I'm not an Alabama fan, but because I went to Auburn University. But one thing that I do know about football in the state of Alabama, we expect a lot from our sports teams because we put a lot of resources behind them. We build new athletic complexes all the time. We're always updating the stadiums, whether you're at Alabama or Auburn. They're throwing millions and billions of dollars into football all the time. I mean, there are new uniforms every week. You got new shoes. You've got top of the line workout facilities, and bringing in the best trainers and having all the resources. We're throwing resources at the team because we expect the teams to be better than everybody else in the state. And although, during the Saban era, Alabama seemed to major on that a little bit longer. But if y'all remember, prior to Saban, Auburn was dominating as well. And so I want you to see this, that where we throw our resources, we have expectation of success. If I'm not willing to throw my resources at my employees, I'm not expecting them to succeed. If I'm not willing to make sure that they have everything that they need for this job, if I'm not willing to make sure that they have everything they need to be good people, if I'm not willing to make sure that they have the benefits they need, if I'm not willing to do corporate retreats and make sure that my people have adequate time off and can be present for their children and be present for their spouses and be present for their lives, I'm saying that the resources I have are not worthy. They're too good for my employees. My employees are not worthy. But when I start throwing my resources at my people, and it's not just money, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's flexibility. When I start throwing resources at my people, what I'm communicating to them is, you're worthy of my best. And when people understand that you're worthy of my best, I then can turn around and give you my best because I feel like you see me and you appreciate me. Well, good people, I hope that answered your question. I'll catch you next time on the Executive Overhaul.